When the NBA draft comes along every year, everybody, for good reason, gets excited about the next generation of talent being welcomed into the league, and most of the focus tends to be on what these players do well and how they can help the teams that draft them. I'm all for the positivity, don't get me wrong, but realistically the fans need to know the full picture regarding what they are getting with these players, the good and the bad. That brings us to today's video, where we'll be going over the biggest weaknesses with each of the top prospects at the moment that could potentially hold them back from reaching their full potential. That's not to say that they can't improve on these things moving forward, it's just the biggest current issue in their games at the moment. Before we start though, I do want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. PrizePicks is a skill-based, real-money daily fantasy sports game where you select 2 to 6 players and guess if they will hit more or less than their projection, and if you get it right, then you win. Plus, with their new Demons and Goblins lines, you can now win up to 100 times your original lineup. Obviously, we're all basketball fans here on this channel, but PrizePicks has almost every sport you can think of available to choose from and play. To add to the fun, they also offer frequent bonuses, discounts, and weekly promotions such as Taco Tuesday and Flex Friday, plus so many more specialty free spaces to watch for throughout the year, so you don't want to miss those. For the next slate of games coming up, in my lineup this week, I will be going with Lionel Messi to record over 2.5 shots, Gunnar Henderson to record more than 0.5 hits, and Bryce Harper to record over 0.5 hits as well. To sign up, go down to the link in the description and use promo code REFERENCE when you sign up to get a deposit match bonus of up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. Starting with the projected #1 pick in the draft this year, Alexandre Sarr, the biggest issue going into the draft for him is his struggles with physicality. There is a lot to like about Sarr's game, and overall, he projects as an outstanding defensive talent that should be able to elevate defenses for years to come, but when you're a young big man coming into the NBA, especially in today's day and age, you're going to be matched up with a ton of talented and physical big men who will not be afraid to take it at you if you can't match up with them. Sarr weighed in at 224 pounds at the Combine, which is a little bit heavier than Victor Wembanyama weighed in last year, but Sarr does not have the freakish size and length that Wembanyama does to make up for it. Additionally, Sarr struggled on offense when matched up with physical defenders too, finishing just 58% of his layups this season, which is pretty bang average, and he has a long way to develop a reliable post game because he gets pushed off the block too often right now. The next prospect up is Zaccharie Risacher, and the biggest issue with him going into the draft is his self-creation skills. Risacher has terrific size for a wing player, he's got a confident shooting stroke in spot-up and catch-and-shoot situations, and he moves well off the ball to free himself up for open looks. He's very efficient in the opportunity he gets too, but at this point in his career he is not a player that you will be able to just pass the ball to and expect him to generate a look off the dribble or make something happen from nothing. When Risacher has tried to take his defender off the dribble, it more often than not results in a low percentage look, and he doesn't force the issue enough to consistently draw fouls and get to the free throw line. His handle definitely needs to work to improve in this regard, but for now, he'll be best served in a secondary type role. The next prospect up is Sheppard, and his biggest issue going into the draft is his lack of creativity. This may sound like Sheppard is the guard version of Risacher, who we just discussed, but there is definitely a difference in what he's missing versus what Risacher was missing. Sheppard was one of the most ultra-efficient scorers we've seen in the college game in a very long time, shooting a ridiculous 54% from the field and 52% from 3, which is obviously amazing because when he does get his opportunities, he is converting at a higher rate than damn near everybody else, but context does need to be applied to this. Sheppard is very smart about when he chooses to attack and when he chooses to defer, which is definitely a positive, but he's just not someone with a deep array of moves off the dribble to break a defender down, and when he faces elite defenders, he can get neutralized like what we saw happened in March Madness when he had his worst game of the season, and he doesn't quite have the knack for creating chances off the ball to make easy looks for himself either, as he actually didn't record a single basket this season as a result of a cut. The next prospect up is Rob Dillingham, and his biggest issue going into the draft is that he is very undersized. Dillingham very well may be the most skilled offensive talent in the draft this year, but his upside is severely limited by his worrying physical measurements. At the NBA Draft Combine, Dillingham measured in at 6'1", which is already on the small side for a point guard, but when he weighed in at just 164 pounds, for reference, that would make him the fourth lightest player currently entered in the NBA's database, and the other 3 players lighter than him are all in the G League, so he would be the lightest player in the NBA right now. There are very real reasons to be concerned about how Dillingham will be able to hold his own defensively at the next level, and no matter how good he is offensively, that will always hold teams back from trusting him to be their go-to guy. You have to be a Trae Young level of talent offensively to get away with it, and even Trae Young gets brutalized for his defensive struggles, so it's just something to keep in the back of your mind with Dillingham. The next prospect up is Donovan Clingan, and his biggest issue going into the draft is that he's not very athletic. Clingan just anchored UConn's dominant defense en route to back-to-back March Madness titles, and comes in projecting to be a defensive monster who should immediately be able to elevate the defense of any team's lineup. All of that may be true, but that doesn't mean he is perfect in that regard, because while Clingan is absolutely elite regarding his positioning, his body control, and the way he uses his size and length to smartly contest shots at the rim, he's not the quickest on his feet by any means, and he's also not the biggest leaper in the world either. At the Combine, Clingan recorded the second lowest vertical leap just amongst the centers, so he is by no means a high flyer compared to the rest at his position, and that combination could hold him back from being a truly dominant rim protector, even though he is smart enough and talented enough to be very good in that regard. And finally, the last top prospect we'll be going over today is Matas Buzelis, and his biggest issue going into the draft is his shooting consistency. I'm not going to say Buzelis can't shoot the ball, because he's been a top prospect on NBA teams' radars for years now, and has shown upside shooting the basketball through the ranks, but only in spurts, and he's far from consistent with it. At the next level, struggles with consistency can lead to a lack of confidence from the perimeter, which would then lead to even more overall struggles. Buzelis shot just 27% from 3 in the G League this year, which held him back a ton as a scorer, and while he's a very well-balanced talent that can contribute in many different ways, being a liability shooting the ball will always hamper your upside in the NBA. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you're concerned about with these prospects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.